All right, hey, so it's a bit confusing. This is a Too Much Monday podcast with Max Levy and me, but it was recorded in two separate weeks. So we first recorded the first one last week on a Saturday and part two on the previous Saturday. Right now it's Wednesday, the 2nd of January. But yeah, that's it. Just wanted to let you know. Enjoy the first episode of the Too Much Monday podcast.
I got too much Monte.
Right. Hey, welcome to the first episode of Too Much Monte with me, but also my guest, or I guess permanent guest, Max Levy. Is it right? Levy?
Max Levy, at Rangers King 669 on Twitter with my guy at Mavericks Monte on Twitter, co-hosts.
Yep.
What it do?
Yep. Basically co-hosting. So even though I just introduced it, I think Max is going to ask a lot of questions, but I'm going to do that as well. So yeah.
Gotta have that boss movement.
Yes. The first thing you wanted to talk about was a bit about Gonzaga, right?
Yes, I would love to. You want to ask questions? You want me to just go straight from the top?
I mean, I don't really know anything about it because I don't really follow that much college. So just go straight into it.
All right, let's go. All right. First off, we have Rui Hachimura. He's 6'8", 6'9", 225-pound big man, which is kind of annoying because he's really undersized, but he's very much jacked. But the problem with Rui Hachimura is his defensive instincts are lacking. He often gets lost off the ball. I remember this. It's very iconic play. You can find it all over draft Twitter. There's this one play where he was playing against Tennessee, and he got completely turned around because he made the wrong rotation, and he left his man wide open for three to seal the game. And that was bad. And then another thing is he doesn't really know how to play make yet. So oftentimes when he's driving in transition, getting off a rebound, he often just drives into the defense and gets charged on, or he just kind of loses the ball because he's just too aggressive, doesn't really know what he's doing, just trying to bird his way in there with his body and try to make something happen. But he's definitely, his grab and go playmaking ability is very much an interesting thing to see, and it provides a lot of upside.
Okay. How tall is he again?
6'8", 6'9".
Is it
you want me to go? I'm sorry. You want me to go?
Make it then?
Do you want me to go in? Do you want to go in on his offense, or just you save the rest?
Well, no. I had a question first about why is it required of him to be a playmaker when he's like that big?
Well, it provides more upside. That's all I'm saying. Just the more you can do, the more upside you have, right? That's kind of how it works.
Yeah. I mean, he still sounds like a great player, except that its defense, like you said, isn't really great.
Well, he's got some offensive issues too. Like the playmaking is a big problem because it hurts his upside. Because, I mean, he'll still be a decent player. He's still worth drafting in like the mid first round. But if he got the playmaking under control and he could be a bit more versatile with his jump shot. Right now, it's very much a set shot, and you can't really use it to off movement. He has to be set at the perimeter. Although the weird thing is he has these fadeaway moves and these pull-ups. His pull-ups are none of them are really the greatest, but they're good enough that they're effective at the college level. It's going to be interesting to see how that works at the NBA level whenever players are bigger, stronger, faster, etc. But
yeah,
he's made some major improvements where last year he couldn't hit a three at all in college level. Like he was shooting like 25, 26%, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like Anthony Bennett was supposed to be like a great post-up player, right? And he just didn't do any of that in the NBA, right?
Yeah, Anthony Bennett just was even on draft night was a mind-boggling decision.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't really notice that as much as other people because I don't really follow college that much. So I was just like, why was he number one? In hindsight, But
yeah, I guess he was ranked like number 8.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, that's still too high if you think about it. But yeah.
Yeah, but like, well, if I think if he ended up in a different organization, things could have worked out a little bit differently. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to hear more about Rui Hachimura, you can hear all of the juicy details on my podcast, the Third Round Picks, which also includes Mike Bibbins, Adam Bibbs on Twitter, and Richard Stamen at Mav-Zero on Twitter. Moving on to the second big star for Gonzaga, we have Brandon Clark. He's a little bit undersized, but he's very good at the rim. Knows the perfect time to go up for the block, but he's also overly aggressive at times and doesn't quite know if it's the right time. Like he knows it's the right time, but doesn't know whether or not he should actually do it. He just knows the right time to jump if he wants to do it. So he sometimes gets into foul trouble for that. But I think my favorite thing about him is just the timing of his blocks is so amazing because he can literally block pull up jumpers in transition because he can time it perfectly, and he's very explosive off the ground even though he's undersized, and it's really incredible to watch. And on offense, he's a pretty good dive threat. He kind of looks like Dwight Powell a little bit out there, but he's the undersized thing hurts him a little bit, and he sometimes gets bodied up by bigger players, and it kind of reduces his effectiveness on the boards. You can hear the rest of the details about Brandon Clark on my podcast as well, but that's the general rundown of some of his biggest skills and a few weaknesses.
Right. So, is it weird that if I'm saying from what I'm getting that he's kind of similar to like Eric Bledsoe?
No, he's not. He's not a guard.
Wait. Oh. Okay. Sorry. I guess it sounded kind of like with undersized. I kind of figured like, oh, then he's like 6 foot. That's sort of undersized for NBA.
No, not undersized NBA player, but positionally undersized. Like he's a dive threat, like a big man. He blocks shots like he's a 6'8".
All right. I mean, there are some short guards who do that as well. That's kind of what I was thinking.
No, he has some guard skill, but he's not a guard by any means. Like he's very much a big man, or like a big wing at the most. But that'd be a little exaggerative in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know any of these players, so it's kind of confusing for that.
Yeah, I got you. He's like a 6'8", 215.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, he's very much an interior defender. I wouldn't really want him on the perimeter too much.
Okay.
Even though he has the mobility, but he doesn't always know how the right rotation or anything. But it's better than Rui.
But he has some offensive game as well. You said, right?
Oh yeah, he can drive on closeouts from the perimeter. His jumper has some pretty high arc, but he just doesn't do it much. So he needs a lot of development just to gain his confidence and gain practice. And it seems unlikely that it'll translate to the NBA level anytime soon, but it's a foundation, I guess.
Yeah. Then some other Zaga, or was that?
There's some other guys on the periphery. Zach Norvell, he's the type of guy that if he gets drafted, he'll be in the late second round. He has some pretty good wing skills, but his defensive instincts frustrate me because he often gets beat easily because he gives up the drive angle and he gets beat, or he'll get out physical, or he just sometimes doesn't make the right decision, pulls the trigger too early without realizing what he's doing, and his jumper looks looks like he releases it low to me, so it's kind of easy to contest it, and the arc isn't particularly high. But all in all, he's versatile wing, kind of the quote unquote 3-and-D type of guy. Just someone you might want to take a bet on, like the late 40s or the 50s.
Okay.
If even, or maybe you pick him up undrafted like Dorian. He's like I think he's like 6'6".
Okay. I mean, yeah, with a 3-and-D guy, a low arc is not really what you want from him. But yeah, if he can fix that, then he sounds like a decent player. Yeah.
Yeah, his defense isn't very good yet. It's just kind of very much needs some basic seasoning, and he might need to figure out how to get in the right defensive stance a little bit because it feels like oftentimes it's not deep enough or not wide enough, and he gets beat because he's playing too upright. Just to me,
Is it also like a matter of like gaining weight or anything, or is that all good?
I think gaining a little bit of weight would be helpful just so that he could stop guards from out physicaling him because sometimes he gets out physical by like bigger guards and wings.
Yeah, okay. Because it sounds kind of similar to like Terrence Ferguson. He's like his shot is a little too low, and he's like really skinny. But
He's
now
nowhere
he's
near the athlete.
yeah, except for the athletic part, I guess. Yeah,
'Cause Terrence Ferguson can dunk on you, your mama, and me. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like Terrence Ferguson right now. By the way, at draft day he was kind of uh like a work in progress, but now he's really good. And I think that guy you were talking about sounds a bit like that, except for the athletic part.
yeah, and it's a bit. He has less like potential at this point because he's just older. He's like a junior.
All right, yeah. I mean, I always don't really get why a guy needs to be like 19 to be drafted high. Like, I mean, if the guy is just good, and if
He's
he's like
not.
23, like Jalen Brunson, no, okay, I guess.
He's not that good
Like,
though.
I mean, Jalen Brunson, who was a second round pick, he was 23, I guess, 22, and
Well,
I think
yeah.
that extra experience helps a lot, actually.
Well, yeah. I'm not downplaying the experience. You have to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Norvell isn't. He's not. He's pretty decent on the college level, but I'm just not sure how good he'd be at the NBA level right away. And since he has less time to develop, it becomes more of a problem. Brunson, he was really good at the college level, but the main problem with him was a lot of the way he scored was in the post. He could post up smaller guards because he was bigger and stronger than them. But at the NBA level, this hasn't worked out for him.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think he adapted pretty decently. Like from what I've heard, he's actually, like you said, playing a bit differently, but he's actually doing that kind of pretty
Yeah,
well.
but that was the reason he was low in the draft. It was that, and then also just team. Well, I'm not saying all teams are like this, but a lot of teams want to get those wings in the second round. You don't necessarily want to get a backup point guard.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Even though I am a big fan of Javon Carter.
Yeah. So can we talk a bit about mass basketball, or you still got some more?
I mean, there's some other guys that Gonzaga has, but they're not particularly good. They'll probably might be in summer league next year, especially Josh Perkins, but he's like the 4-year college guard who kind of scores and initiates a little bit, but is unlikely to translate to the NBA level just because he's not like a standout player.
All right. Okay.
All right, we want to move on to Mavs.
Yeah, sure. If you're fine with that. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I forgot to kind of say that this is mostly going to be like a Mavs podcast and a bit about the NBA. But like you heard, sometimes I want to ask Max some college questions as well, some prospect questions, because I don't really follow anything, and Max is really good at that. So that's really nice to have him as a guest for that. We talked earlier about like LeBron James. He mentioned like a lot of players he would want to play with, and he mentioned like Anthony Davis and Paul George, right? Yeah, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
But he also randomly like mentioned, or maybe not randomly, it was like he mentioned Luka Doncic, and we were both kind of like surprised with that. Like that sounded really awesome, like uh, him being in that list.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. I wouldn't say it's surprising. It just feels like LeBron usually doesn't give rookies credit that early, so it's got
Yeah,
to mean a lot.
that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Yeah.
But just imagine LeBron and Luka Doncic together. Like Luka Doncic would be his new Kyrie, basically. That's how it would work. Even
Which
though,
is weird
yeah,
because he kind of plays like an unathletic LeBron or less athletic. Yeah, but I
yeah,
guess
but
that worked.
well, I mean that like he would just be like the understudy, but he would be the guy to make all the clutch shots whenever LeBron couldn't do it.
Yeah, I guess in that way. Yeah, I mean it's never gonna happen. I think.
Oh
I mean
no,
maybe.
Never.
Maybe if like
No, it's not happening.
Luca, no, okay, even if Luca leaves, LeBron is probably retired at that point.
Well, I don't think Luka's leaving anytime soon because even when he gets restricted free agency, he's going to get re-upped for another 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, after that, maybe.
Well, that by then LeBron would definitely be retired. He'd be like over 40. All right. Well, moving on to some on the court news. Uh, how are you feeling about Maxi Kleber this year? The guy that's suddenly come over and stolen all our hearts and has become clearly the Mavs center of the future, in my opinion. How you feel about that?
It's kind of weird because when he came over, everyone kind of compared him to Dirk, and he's not like Dirk at all, actually. Like, he's a decent shooter, but he's not like Dirk with that, like a high release and just contested shots. It's more of like a guy who just takes open shots and he catches lobs and he plays great defense. And I mean, Dirk plays decent defense, of course, but yeah. But I'm really happy with him, and I think we could definitely let him go and start Maxi next year. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the defense is really remarkable. Just, everyone was, I don't think anyone expected him to be this athletic and this heady on defense. His rotations are pretty awesome to see. He's not going to be a sieve on defense, and he can really be a major presence at the rim despite him not being particularly tall. But his athleticism really helps with that, and he gets a lot of blocks despite not seeming like the most intimidating presence at the rim. And I think it catches a lot of opposing players by surprise the first time, and I think that it really helps him a little bit. But I think even regardless of whether it's the first time or not, he still makes a major impact, and that can only help. Hopefully, he doesn't get paid a max contract by the Nuggets this summer.
Max, I don't think of max contracts, but yeah.
Well, I mean, not saying because he's worth one, but it could be like an Otto Porter situation.
Yeah.
Or an Al-Farouq Aminu.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. But, like, in hindsight, the Mavs maybe could have offered Aminu a little more, I guess.
You got paid a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I think he wasn't really that athletic. I mean, he was more athletic than we thought, basically because he was, like, very injured in Europe, I think. That's right?
He played in Europe. He played. He was playing for Bayern Munich all the time. He wasn't.
But like it always kind of hurt him, so he couldn't really use his athleticism. Jesus, that's a fucking hard word if you're Dutch. Sorry.
Yeah, I got you.
Wasn't really used properly as it is right now,
Yeah. Yeah, I love Maxi Kleber.
Yeah, I do.
One of the members on our podcast, Mike Bibbins, he's the Maxi Kleber fan club president. So.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Yeah, he's mostly just much better than DJ right now. That's so surprising, sort of. But yeah, it's really great, honestly. Like for him and for the team.
Yeah, this would be like a kind of sideways comparison, but Maxi Kleber is like a developed Brandon Clark in a lot of ways, but he's a bit more sizable than Brandon Clark, and Brandon Clark's significantly more athletic, but still.
All right, that sounds cool. Like I'm really interested to see Brandon Clark in summer league and stuff. Then, yeah.
Oh, don't wait for summer league. Have you seen the block Brandon Clark made on East Pods in the Tennessee game? You need to see it. Like you have to see it. So, like you could literally I could talk for 5 minutes just so you can go see it while we're on this podcast if you wanted to do it that way, or you could watch it later. But you got to see it. It's just remarkable. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'll do it afterwards. Yeah. I mean, I definitely later during the season I usually watch a lot of highlights and stuff and scout videos. It's mostly that I watch. Sometimes, if it airs here in my country, I catch some college games. But yeah, usually just some highlights and stuff, and then summer league mostly. We wanted to talk a bit about Dorian as well. I think mostly he should be starting. I said that earlier in a video of mine. Yeah, his defense is so much better than Wes's, and he's shooting better. So I just think he should be starting instead of Wes. And I don't really understand why West keeps starting. It's kind of weird. He would be much more fitting with the bench. Should be like a vault or a bit because his defense isn't really what it used to be. So
I think Dorian's gonna be. He's in the kind of the same situation as Alfaro Camino was, where he's broken out, and now we're all worried he's gonna get paid. Like his defensive rotations have developed pretty nicely. He's very versatile. He can be an on-ball defender and an off-ball defender as a perimeter player, which is quite valuable.
yeah,
And then his shot development has been very nice. And you see him hit step back threes, you're like, what? Dorian Finney-Smith?
yeah,
Like,
he's showing a lot of flashes this year, and he's been much better than last year. It's really impressive. Yeah, the way
I,
he's been renewing his shot, that is
yeah,
really cool as well.
I swear it's like someone on some crazy Twitter group's gonna be like Dorian Finney-Smith is the secondary star to Luca, and then he becomes it somehow. I just wouldn't. It would be crazy, but it seems like it could happen with those step backs at this point. It's just insane, but obviously it's not realistic or anything.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps improving, so in some ways it could happen. I mean, like Maxi Kleber is one of our best players statistically as well, but like I don't see him really getting better than he is right now. But Dorian definitely has like a lot of potential left.
Well, I think Maxi Kleba is the kind of guy where his shot is the main thing he can develop right now. Everything else is going to be it is what it is, but what he is a starting level center in this league.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, definitely on the Mavs. Like some players just work on them, and then they they don't really perform as well as other teams.
Like, I think if the Nuggets got their hands on Maxi Kleba, they would immediately fix all their problems with Jokic, like immediately.
Yeah, I
Because
guess so.
they could start Maxi at 4, and he could play like a better defensive version of Millsap because Millsap is old.
Yeah. How is Millsap playing this year? Isn't he? He's been injured a lot, of course.
Yeah,
But
he's been injured again. He's out for the season, I think.
sucked. Yeah. He so has some injury problems as well. But I think you're right. I think the Nuggets are gonna try to get Maxi next year, definitely.
And the weird thing is their cap isn't in the best situation, so I'm not exactly sure how much they can offer to try to
Yeah,
lull him away.
yeah, that's fair. So, what do you think about the Dirk situation? Like he's been playing like 6 or 8 like a game, and basically like uh Maxi a lot of the times like should play at that point, but then Dirk instead plays. So then Maxi comes in later. It's really just weird and experimentative. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I guess it's frustrating because we want Dirk to play, but I want Maxi to play. So it's a weird conundrum. Um, all in all, I think the best move, honestly, we need to take away like at least 5 of DeAndre's minutes
Yeah, I
and
agree.
give it to Dirk. Take away like 5 of Wes's minutes, give it to Dirk, and
Yeah,
then that's what Dirk plays every game. 10 minutes. That's all he needs. That's
that seems fair.
I
All
don't
the
even
rest of
think
them
I don't
with
even
the
know if he
max.
can play anymore right now. So
Who Dirk?
he can't play anymore right now. He can't play more than that. Like
Oh no, no.
he's
Yeah,
barely walking.
yeah. It was kind of bad the last couple of years, but this year it's a lot worse. And I think he really realizes, and this is definitely his last year. Like maybe if he keeps playing like 5 or 10 minutes every year, every game, but I don't think he wants to play more. Like if you see him walking and stuff, yeah, I think he's kind of done now.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be like the KG's last year where he was just horrible and he didn't play. And when he did play, he looked horrible. Like he didn't do anything.
And Tim Duncan started playing like 10 minutes a game as well, like in his last year, I think. And you knew that at that point that kind of his career was over, sort of. Yeah,
Yeah, but at least Tim Duncan can make himself look good. You know, he can
yeah.
try. He knows the game well enough, and he doesn't rely on athleticism.
I mean that's the same with Dirk. So
Yeah, But Dirk he's coming back from an injury, so I'm not saying he'll get it back together enough that he'll look okay. I'm just saying I just don't want it to end up like KG.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I think if he get it back together and starts playing as well as he did last year, maybe he'll still consider coming back next year.
I think if the Mavs make the playoffs, he's gonna really think about it.
Yeah,
Because if he
how
comes
much?
back, he'd be the all-time leader in NBA seasons.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for Dirk, seems kind of like dependent on how much fun he gets. So if into the playoffs, he's a lot more fun, and I think and he's willing to stay another year. But if it's like a frustrating year, like last year, I think yeah, he doesn't really enjoy that as much.
I think it's safe to say the Mavs are not going to be like last year.
No, absolutely, and I think this season right now, by the way, has been kind of weird because they started like 2-7, but then
Yeah,
they came back to like something like 12, like 13-9 or something. They were at one point, I think, which was
and
really good.
yeah, now they're like 16, like 15 and 16 or 15 and 17.
Wasn't it 14-14? I thought.
Well, I don't know. That's just what I think it was. The
It's
Mavs,
something
the Mavs
close enough.
record is 15 and 15.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So 0.500, which doesn't sound so bad, but like they've been on a losing streak of like 4 games, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's likely that streak's going to continue.
Yeah, I think so too. It's so weird because they have been playing really well, and I think even though Luka is a rookie and yeah, he shouldn't be like the team shouldn't have to depend on him as much, but I think he's been playing less well recently, and I think that really takes a toll on the team. Also, maybe the injuries. JJ has been out a lot, and I think DJ's defense and extra scoring really like he goes coast to coast a lot and stuff. I think they really missed that mostly.
I mean, JJ just played, and so
Yeah,
did Luka. Luka dropped his career high,
yeah,
and JJ played pretty dang well too. I think the problem is we need Luka and JJ to play in order to win, and then in order to be a good team, you need Dorian to play really well, and you need Maxi Kleber to play at least 20 minutes.
yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, kind of feels like since Dirk has been back, they've been playing less well because Maxi has been playing less, and Dirk is kind of struggling a bit. It's
I mean,
it's that a bit.
Maxi has a toe injury, so it's a bit of both.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, but I think they'll turn it around eventually, like in a week or something. Hopefully Dennis Smith will be back like next week, and then they'll pick it up. I think.
Yeah,
Do you think?
I'm not even sure how. The weird thing is Dennis. You see all the numbers, and you see Dennis doesn't have a positive impact on winning, and you see the record with Dennis. But I think what Dennis needs at this point, he needs some fire lit under him or something. Like
Yeah,
I think Rick needs to bench him and show him who's boss, and then let Dennis prove that he deserves to start again after Brunson's been playing better than Dennis was playing, which still isn't that great, but it's better.
yeah. I think that's actually something perfect for him. Like he really needs some motivation and stuff, and he always wants to prove himself. So yeah, I think I agree with you. Like if he comes off the bench, that will like give him some like motivation and stuff. And yeah,
And I think low key Dennis off the bench would be really nice.
yeah, I think you'll actually fit that role really well. He's like a spark plug a little bit. He can just do what he wants, like take weird step backs, and now he has to really like play off ball and play like how Rick wants him. And I think when he comes off the bench, he can just be more of himself. I think, yeah,
I think he could be like a bigger version of not Dennis of Nate Robinson.
yeah, yeah. That's actually a good one. Yeah,
Because like he came off the bench all the time as that spark plug.
yeah. I like that comparison. Yeah.
Like that'd be really interesting for this season if he could start playing like that sort of role at least. I honestly I would want him to play that role all the time because I just don't think it's going to work very well this season for him to be starting with Luka. I'm not saying you can't play with Luka, but don't be at the start of the game where he's playing against starters. Let it be where Luka is playing against some bench dudes, and then you play with Dennis so that way they can work well together, gain some chemistry just by playing better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, getting off the bench isn't really that. That doesn't mean that he's not good or anything. That could actually make him better. So I agree. Though I think his defense and stuff is also needed. On the in the starting lineup, sort of. Yeah.
I think Devin Harris is still a better defender than Dennis is right now because Devin provides the off-ball intelligence.
Yeah, but Devin is a great defender. So yeah, and he's been playing a lot longer, of course. So
yeah, I know.
So he can't play he can't start or anything. So
yeah, and honestly, at this point, I want to see the Luka 3 wings and Maxi lineup start. That's what I want.
yeah,
Let it be Luka Doncic at the quote unquote 1 with I guess Wes Matthews, Harrison Barnes, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Maxi. I want that lineup. I want that lineup all the time.
I'm not sure. I think Luka plays better with an athletic secondary playmaker next to him, though.
I think the numbers don't show it, and neither does the record.
I guess I don't know. It just when Luka has to create for others and himself the whole game, it kind of looks weird, and I think it's a lot easier when DSJ helps him with that. I think DSJ is a lot more important than people give him credit.
He's important. I just don't think his role is working for him. Let's see. Moving on to Wes Matthews actually playing like an okay NBA player.
Yeah, that's surprising me as well. Yeah, he's been playing really well lately, and I think this is the best he's played since he's been on the Mavs.
Yeah, I mean, it's not entirely surprising because, he's gotten more time since his Achilles injury.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I also Luka Doncic has made him much better.
Yeah. I think the annoying thing about it is that we will let him go maybe next year, and then he'll be 10 times better than he's ever been on the Mavs on another team. That will really suck.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he can be much better than he is right now on any team unless it's a championship team.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I still think he takes some annoying shots, not really smart shots, and I think he's still not really always trying on defense, even though he's supposedly a great defender. So he still annoys me, but yeah, I gotta give him credit. He's been shooting well, and actually he looks a bit faster than normal. When he has the ball, he looks more comfortable. All right, so from there it got kind of cut off, and I had to go anyway, which is why we recorded the second part a week later. I'm sorry for that, but so yeah, just enjoy part 2, and we'll continue from where we left off. Okay, so this is part 2 of the Monta podcast. We did part 1 last week. Max Levy. So I think we left off at I don't remember. I guess just kind of talk about Zion. We haven't really talked about him a bit. What do you think of him?
I think based on what I've seen so far, and just all the crazy stuff you hear, just what he says, even the things he says catch your attention. In an interview, he's like, "I want to be just as good on defense as I am on offense," and I'm like, "Holy!"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I want to be he's like, I want to make the right rotations. I want to learn how to play proper defense." So I was like, "Oh my freaking god!" And then on top of all that, on offense, he's basically Draymond on times 10,000. That's what his ceiling is going to be, is Draymond times 10,000. Imagine Draymond driving to the rim, but now he can jump 48 inches and he weighs 280 pounds.
Wow.
And, oh, wait, it's right. He can cross you up too. And he might even be able to hit a pull-up mid-range. Might even be able to do that. That's what Zion's ceiling could be, and he could potentially even get a three-pointer, but I don't want to lay that kind of prediction down. That's not logical right now. To me, based on everything, there is almost zero circumstance where you're at number one. I'm saying don't pick Zion. Like, I couldn't think of one unless like Anthony Davis is being talked about in a trade, which could happen.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds really, really awesome. How tall was he again? He was like a 6'7" small forward or something, right?
6'6", 6'7". He's like literally on the offensively. He's like the Draymond a meter type of guy.
So he basically plays like power forward mostly, or not?
I mean, in college he plays wherever. In the NBA, he should be playing power forward just because of his size, and because to be honest with you, like I mean, by size, I don't mean his height. Like you can get away with a lot of different heights at the power forward position, but his strength and his mobility and his versatility that works best at the four. But at the same time, what I think might be the biggest threat in his offensive game is how he can play small ball five and be extremely effective against these slower footed bigs and really torch a lot of them.
Yeah, it sounds like he can do that. Yeah, that's really awesome. So his 3-point shot, what's his percentage like?
It's
basically?
bad. It's like 17%. Like he doesn't have it.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah. What's Draymond Green's percentage like? You know that?
Right now,
Yeah, just like off the top of your head,
it's like 30.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot better.
But number one, Draymond Green went to college for 4 years, and he's played in the league for like 6 or 7, right?
Yeah, it sounds like Zion will get there.
I mean, I wouldn't say like he will get there because there's too many flaws in his jumper, and you don't know if he's going to be in the right development environment, but he will have the chance for sure.
I mean, I like you said, you like his comments, about his defense and stuff. I like that always, and I've seen like one interview, I guess, and he was like pretty humble, but at the same time like very confident, and I like that as well. And it was always about his team and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like LeBron when he's talking in his interviews. Like that's the only part of the comparison I will continue preaching is that he talks the way LeBron kind of talks in an interview already.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I felt like Mo Bamba had that a lot. That's why I really liked him last year. Like
but the Mo Bamba didn't have the ability.
No, yeah, he still has a lot of work to do. But like I really like. For a Mavericks prospect, I really liked his fit in terms of personality, But I also realized that we would be like tanking for like at least 1 or 2 more years, because he really needs a development. And I'm much more happy with Luka, of course. But like Zion, I would really like. Let's say the Mavs would have a chance to get him, of course not. But like I really like the sound of him, Yeah.
I mean, even if the Mavs did get Bamba and they tanked, they would still, even if they had the number one slot in the lottery, they would still only have a 14% chance of the number one pick. Like, those are terrible odds.
Yeah.
Like, I love the Zion, like nobody's business, but unless your team is genuinely bad, you just need to get the talent you can get right now because Zion's going to be a nearly impossible get. And unless like there's one of those Wiggins draft day trades where like some kind of like mid-tier all-star like Kevin Love gets moved around or he's involved in a bigger trade to somehow land Anthony Davis, which doesn't seem likely or possible. Like unless the Suns for some weird reason got Zion and then did Zion and Booker and Aiden for Anthony Davis. Like that's possible, but I don't know why they would do it.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. Like Zion sounds like a much better prospect than the prospect from last year. So, yeah, definitely a smart idea.
I mean, I'd say Zion's about in the same boat as Luka was for me because Luka, even though Zion has a lot of advantages, Luka has the holy grail skill, just the ability to do all these crazy off-dribble shots from the three-point range. That's incredible. And then the separation on his step back at his age especially is literally like all-star level with that skill already. It's incredible. Which that leads into our next topic.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I just wanted to add a little quick that it's still kind of weird that the Suns didn't really pick Luka. it's not even that he's like uh, better than we expected, because like, I mean, I've seen him play like for the Slovenian team and in for like Real Madrid a bit, and I've seen him do stuff that he does now. Of course, it's like gotten better, but like still, like I think he would have fit great with the Suns, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, I think the problem was Igor Kokoshkov had like zero input on the draft pick at all because he was the new head coach, and like very few head coaches have real input on draft picks. Rick Carlisle is one of the head coaches that will, because he's been with us for so long and he won the ring and stuff like that. But especially new head coaches, but most head coaches in general don't have any control over their picks, so they kind of can just throw their hands up at the situation. Because I think Igor really wants Luka right about now. He wants his son back.
yeah. I mean, it kind of seemed like they signed Igor to just fit with Luca. You know, it kind of seemed like they were gonna pick Luca after they signed Igor. Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, and I think they could have really made that system work too. But,
Yeah,
oh well. Like, the crazy part is the Suns would probably still be a lottery team this year, probably where the Mavs are at right now, just because the West is so stacked and their team is even younger than us.
yeah,
But, like, if they got to, like, mid lottery, like somewhere like the 9 to 14 range, and they could probably get the center they would need. Like, there's a couple guys that could really fill that role for them. Daniel Gafford is one of those guys that comes to mind. But oh well, instead they're going to be tanking, but now they need that other scorer that can also initiate, and that prospect is basically Zion Williamson. But how are you going to get Zion Williamson with these lottery odds?
yeah. I mean, I think the Suns basically are like tanking on purpose, and I don't think Luca would really fit with that. I think Luca's like the type of guy that like in a winning situation he would like play much better, and the Mavs aren't really necessarily like winning crazy amounts or anything, but like let's say the Mavs were like bottom in the West, I think Luca's confidence would like uh, go down a lot, you know.
Yeah, I think the Mavs, they have a winning culture, but they haven't put it together yet, I think
Yeah,
is how I'd put it. Because the problem with the Mavs is that they have a bunch of pieces that should be considerably better than they are.
yeah,
Like, Harrison Barnes needs to figure out what he's supposed to be doing instead of what he's doing a lot of the times, which is really mucking up our offense. I'm sick and tired of seeing Harrison Barnes drive from the top of the key and take a pull at mid-range when he doesn't have a mismatch, or post up a guy when he doesn't have a mismatch. Like, that's not
yeah.
Harrison Barnes' game if we're being honest with ourselves.
I mean, I can see that point, but he definitely proved that when he was like the leading scorer. You know, he can bust up against pretty much anyone.
No, he can, but if we want to win, he can't do it.
Yeah, again, yeah, because he like lost a lot, even though he scored a lot. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
even when in his first season, we only won 33 games, and that was with this big crusade at the end of the season to recover for a terrible first start of the season where we lost like 17 games.
I mean, I liked how he looked since ESJ has been back like last yesterday. You know, like he was a lot of like layups and stuff. I like that.
Well, it always seems like there's two Harrison Barnes on the floor. There's the good Harris, like it used to be like the good West and the bad West. Now West has figured out what he's supposed to be doing 99% of the time, which has made me very happy, and doesn't have the pitchforks out for him. I can't really have the pitchforks out for Harrison because he's not movable, but I am still kind of disappointed that he's taking these pull-up mid-ranges early in the shot clock, or these post-ups against like Solomon Hill, who's still like 6'8" and has like a typical wingspan. Like, you shouldn't be posting up against these sorts of guys that are your size. You need to be going like, for mismatches or driving to the rack. And I wish you would just learn how to pass better. Like,
Yeah, he's a bad passer. That's mostly what me. But I don't, I don't dislike him. I don't know. It's kind of
depends on like the game. Like sometimes I'm really happy with some. I guess that happens. I like personality a lot. So and but he isn't bad at defense. So that's great. I mean sometimes he is.
I think the best role for him, if we're being honest with ourselves, unless he can figure it out, is for him to be that Rudy Gay six man off the bench. I mean, off the bench is the best role for him, or he needs to rediscover his warrior self.
I mean, that also doesn't really feel like the best version of him, but it's also like I don't really think he knows his own identity. That's the weird part.
Well, here's the truth: is that sometimes the best version of a player, is not the most conducive to winning. Point in mind, for example, Marcus Smart. If he wanted to, he could easily average a lot more assists than he really does, and he could really play like a real point guard. But what gets the Celtics wins is him playing like an off-ball shooting guard who's super physical and just absolutely destroys any potential opposing offensive player, even if they're 6'10", because he's just so ridiculously good on defense. It's literally insane.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, some players you kind of think like they're taking like a step back, but they're playing more efficient than ever. Like Paul George a bit. I guess he's playing a lot more off ball and basically sort of like going like back and forth with Westbrook. Like sometimes Westbrook scores a lot, sometimes Paul George. But it works. It works really great for Paul George, and I wish like Harrison Barnes had a little of that.
Well, I mean, Harrison Barnes just isn't Paul George, so.
Oh, he isn't. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying, but
No,
yeah,
like I know, but like at a certain point, it's just like there's a reason why it's working in OKC and it's not working here. It's because Paul George is Paul George, and Harrison Barnes is Harrison Barnes. Like sometimes these are just things you have to accept a little bit, but it's still frustrating.
when Barnes' contract is up, he'll like switch teams. I think it was great having him. He like for the culture and stuff, and like we didn't really have anything because DeAndre Jordan left and he didn't go. But like yeah, I think it just didn't really work. Yeah,
Well, I mean, if Barnes, like I said, if he can rediscover his Warrior self, because the key part of the Warrior system is how willing they are to move the ball.
yeah,
So if Harrison could understand, we need him to be like that again, but then we will reward you by giving you mismatches where you can do what you want scoring. But you need to understand that most of the time you need to play like your Warrior self. And I think if that we can get that in his head somehow, we can really make some changes.
yeah. I think so too. I mean, he's doing it. He's doing that a bit. Like yeah, yeah. Still, like you said, there's two versions of him. But anyway, let's see. Do you think Luka will be an All-Star this year?
Not in this conference.
I don't think so either. Like the weird thing is that Trey Young might have like a better chance
No,
because he's playing.
no, because the Hawks are terrible. There's no
Yeah,
chance.
yeah, yeah. I guess neither has a chance, but yeah, it sucks because Luka has been playing so well. Yeah,
Yeah, if Luka was in the East, he'd have about 3 more wins, and he would be a lock to make the All-Star game.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like,
So also,
almost certainly.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Um, I also wanted to talk a bit about like how weird it is that the Slovenian national team hasn't qualified. Even though they, of course, even though they were European champions, it doesn't guarantee anything, of course. And Luka couldn't play, and
Had a
Goran
good,
Dragic.
yeah. And I don't know who played, but I would imagine Anthony Randolph didn't play because he was with Real Madrid probably at the time.
Yeah,
If there's a bunch of players away on their club teams, you're kind of just left with who's your best amateurs.
no, you're right. Yeah, it really sucks because like I was really looking forward to watching Luka play, and I'm not sure where how it works with like the World Cup. I think it mostly it's like some teams play here and then there. I think like let's say like the Slovenian team would play in like Germany or Belgium, or I don't know. I would definitely go there. Like I really want to see Luka play. So that really sucks for me, but also just for watching on TV, I would really like to see them.
Yeah, so here are the players who played for Slovenia against Latvia in their most recent qualifier. I want to see if you've heard of any of these players, because pretty much I have not. Because like they're missing a lot more guys than just like their big three. All right,
Yeah,
first Matic Rebic,
no,
Urban Durnik.
I guess he sounds familiar. Wasn't he just like the like center of that team?
He only played 11 minutes, so I don't know.
Then yeah,
Ido Muric,
no,
Blas Mesecek,
no,
Jan Kosi,
no,
Grigor Horovat,
no,
Mihaj Skedeljibda,
no.
Blas Makovic.
Uh, I guess that sounds familiar.
He only played 13 minutes.
I mean, yeah, okay, I guess not. Yeah, I don't really know much of these guys. I guess like
Okay,
mostly just
yeah. I just want to finish for emphasis.
yeah, sure.
Vlatko Kenkar,
All right, no,
Grigor Glas,
nope,
Aljaz Bratek,
no,
Jakob Sebacek, or whatever.
no.
Yeah. So let's see. There are a bunch of guys on this roster that are missing. You got Jakub Blazic is not playing, Ray Zagarash not playing, D-Mitch not playing. You got what's the dude's name that looks like he's a CIA agent? I don't know his name, but he's very specifically in my head as looking like a CIA agent. Like they're missing pretty much all of their best players from the Eurobasket, like anyone in their top like 7 or 8 of their rotation. So what are you gonna do? Because they're all busy at their pro clubs.
Yeah, I think they really like need to change that. Like the qualifiers, like just put it in like the summer or anything, or like why isn't like the World Cup qualifications just like based on the results of like the Euro Cup? That sounds like a lot more logical in my opinion.
Well, I think they just want to operate it the way FIFA does, where they force players to leave for the international games. They don't force them to, but like it's an expected thing for players to leave their clubs to go to international games in soccer, but it's just not the same in basketball.
Yeah, it's like I think like especially if you're playing for like Real Madrid, I think it's like a lot more important to play for that than for your national team. Even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
it should be really, but yeah, it still is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just Real Madrid, but if you're playing in any major European league, like Spanish league, Italian league, Greek league, Russian league, German league, French league, those sorts of leagues, even Israeli league, stuff like that. Even the Adriatic league, like you're not going to leave that money, because the fact of the matter is, I'm almost certain these international teams don't pay the same like their international soccer teams do, because those international soccer teams actually pay some decent coin, and like there's a lot more. I guess you would say there's a lot more pride in representing your country in soccer than in basketball, because nobody really cares. Like I haven't seen Giannis play for Greece. He didn't even play in the Eurobasket.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I think I've seen him play for the World Cup once, like in his first or second season.
But not anymore, because now he's like basically almost the MVP of the NBA.
It's kind of weird. I mean, you would think that Giannis would really love to play for Greece, yeah, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Greece was a struggle for him. Like that was the cause of a lot of hardship in his life.
That's true, yeah. And I guess his family mostly is from somewhere in Africa. I don't really know.
Nigeria,
yeah. So I guess if anything, he might want to play for Nigeria more than Greece. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he didn't really live in Greece. I mean, he didn't really live in Nigeria. He moved to Greece when he was super young, so he doesn't really have any reference of Nigeria. The only person in his family other than the parents that have any reference of Nigeria is his older brother, like not Thanasis, but like the older brother Francis, the soccer player.
Oh, I haven't even heard of him. Is he like any good at soccer?
No, he's playing in like the second or third Greek league, and it's impossible to find any footage or
All
even a
right.
picture of him.
It's still like impressive that like most of these brothers like play professional basketball, like Kostas, Novo, and like Thanasis. I mean, Thanasis isn't that good anymore, but I think he still plays overseas, right?
I would define him as a good enough basketball player because like he's still, I think he's in like the French league or something. Like let me check. Thanasis Antetokounmpo is and Panathinaikos one of the best teams in Greece.
Yeah. All right.
That's really good. Like that's a traditional European powerhouse.
Yeah. I mean, that's decent. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you still have Alex Antetokounmpo who's like 16, and
Oh,
he might be a prospect in like the 2020-2021 NBA draft.
and he's basically he could be like a first rounder if he keeps it up, right?
It's way too far away to say something like that.
I mean, you could say it of LeBron, like when he was a kid, but that's kind of unique.
That's LeBron, and
Yeah.
LeBron wasn't even hyped until he was like 17 and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So,
And LeBron was different because if we're being honest with ourselves, even if LeBron did all the exact same things on the court, if ESPN didn't latch on with so much ridiculous hype, I would find it'd be a lot harder to believe if he actually went number one because most teams were pretty hesitant to pick high school players like that early unless they were like, I guess you could say, considerably more proven. I don't remember where Kevin Garnett got picked, but he was a high school player. Kobe got picked like 13th,
yeah.
and he was like a really amazing high school player. Kevin Garnett got picked 5th. So
All
like
right.
if KG got picked 5th, and I would say almost certainly he was the best player in that class. Like I don't know if LeBron would have gotten picked first. Maybe he gets picked 3rd. Maybe like imagine if Darko Milicic goes first in that class.
Yeah. I mean, I hear a lot of people like saying like Darko Milicic, they give him as like an example for like bad European players. What's the deal with him exactly?
To be honest, the problem with Darko Milicic was at that time European scouting was considerably less developed, and they took what's the right word? Poorly informed gamble because they didn't really know much about him compared to like what teams know now about players. Like it would have been like Dirk Nowitzki would have been just as bad of a gamble, except for the fact that he came to the U.S. to play in the Hoop Summit. So they had a much better reference on him playing against American players, and they got a chance to talk to him in some interviews and stuff like this. Like if Dirk didn't come to the Hoop Summit, I'm not sure if he would have gotten picked in the lottery.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, it's still kind of weird how a lot of people think the scouting in Europe is just as bad and it's still just as much as a gamble. It's like it's not a gamble at all anymore. Like they
Oh
know
no,
just as
it's not.
college players.
Like here's the thing. Right after the 2000s, like in 2003, that was the first year of Eurocamp. That was set up by Pete Philo, who runs TPG Sports, company I support and am what's the right word? A patron of.
Yeah,
With some of their content, I would recommend checking it out if you're looking to get some inside information on how the NBA works and some various dealings with scouting and stuff like that. But regardless, he set up the first Eurocamp with some other NBA executives and European executives, and that was like the first time you had like an NBA combine setting for European players.
all right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, since then it's gotten better, I think. Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, I mean, it sounds like Donnie visited Germany a lot, like for Dirk, you know? So I guess the scouting was pretty decent for the Mavericks, at least. Yeah.
Well, the Mavericks didn't pick up on Dirk really until he arrived in the U.S. for the Hoop Summit, from what the stories say. including what the general managers are saying. Like Donnie said, he first picked up on him at when he like heard he was coming over, and like the foreign team just happened to be practicing in Dallas, so it just worked out perfectly. So they got an inside look at him early.
Oh wow, yeah. But after that, they visited him in Germany, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The hoop sum was like the first in-person encounter though.
Yeah. So I guess Dirk had that advantage that he like showed up in the hoop summit. Yeah.
He dropped like I believe it was like 35 or 40 points, and he had like 20. Like he had like it was like 19 or 20 of 23 or 22 from the free throw line. It was insane.
Wasn't it like that? Charles Barkley was watching that, and he like years later he talked about like how he watched that, and he was like, "Oh, this white kid is like scoring 35 points on us." Like, wasn't it?
What happened with Charles Barkley was Barkley and a bunch of other NBA All Stars, including Scottie Pippen, came over to Germany for like this exhibition tour, and Dirk actually played in one of those games against him, and Dirk dropped like 26, thought like 24 or 25 on Scottie Pippen, guarding him the entire time in the first half. And then in the second half, he's like Scottie Pippen said at halftime, "I'm gonna lock him down in the second half. I'm gonna lock him down in the second half." And then Charles Barkley's like, he finished the game with like 52. And he's like, "I want to get this guy to Auburn and stuff like this." Like that's what he was saying. Like there's even public interviews where saying, "I want to get Dirk Nowitzki to go to Auburn."
That's insane. Yeah. Wow. I mean, Scottie Pippen, I think, is Dirk's favorite player, so it kind of makes sense, you know. But also, like Dirk struggled his first year a bit, so it's kind of weird how he like got motivated from it. You would like expect him to be like really nervous, you know.
Well, I mean, it was an exhibition game, and there's very little footage of it.
I guess so. I guess it's more like with crowds and stuff for him. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when he came to the NBA, there was a bunch of other things, like just adjusting to being in the United States of America. Like, at that time, it was entirely different.
I've heard that as well. Yeah. So,
like, and then on top of that, you just have, there's so much extra pressure with being in the NBA whenever you're coming in from a second division team in Germany.
Yeah, and also I've heard a lot that like once like a German sports player is like really good at a sport that doesn't really get that much coverage, the media is like all over that person, and I think Dirk got a lot of that. Like he got like so much pressure from Germany, I think, like in his first year.
Yeah, well, there's really two. There's Dirk and there's like Boris Becker. Like both of them are like around the same time. Like Dirk, like Boris Becker, I think was first. But like that was like the tennis took over the country, and Dirk wanted to play tennis, and then Dirk took over basketball, and now Germany's basketball crazy. Like for the amount of size their gyms have, they're always like selling out their seats. It's crazy, even in second division teams.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like in the Netherlands here, we're pretty similar. Like once like some player like we have that like with the Formula One, like we have that guy Max Verstappen, and like as soon as he was like really good here, everybody just watched this Formula One here. It's really insane. Like just because of one person, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and then well, Germany, Dirk wasn't the first guy. You had Detlef Schrempf, but
but he didn't really have the same like hype and stuff, I guess.
No. But if Schrempf won that 1996 title with Payton and Kemp over Michael Jordan, you bet your butt that Germany would have been big on basketball for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Hey, so my second favorite team basically is the New York Knicks, and I was kind of wondering which prospect you like see fit best with the Knicks this year. And I think Zion probably doesn't go in, so like besides Zion, I guess.
Well, I mean, like if you wanted me to say besides Zion, because I'll be real with you, there's almost zero circumstance where I'm not taking Zion at number one. So.
No, of course. But like let's say the Knicks have like the second or third pick, like.
Oh, gee, that's hard. Just because honestly, between 2 and 7, there's like you could convince me of putting any of those guys at number 2, because like the season's gonna fluctuate so much between now and then, and we're gonna see so much more of these guys as games. It depends. Like, do they want a guy who is going to be ultra talented, but it's going to require a lot of work, especially as Kristaps Porzingis is coming back and they're looking to sign Kevin Durant. Do they have time to invest in that sort of player? Or do they want a player that can contribute right away and still has lots of potential, but, maybe isn't like the guy is going to be the kind of guy that might be underrated for his entire career?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think they were kind of looking at that with Kevin Knox and Ntilikina, like kind of someone who would like fit with alongside other stars, But
Yeah, I mean, here's the tragedy with that is the Kristaps injury is like super poorly timed because if Kristaps got injured earlier in the season last year, the Knicks could have had like a top 5 pick. And Kristaps is going to come back in like February probably, and the Knicks will probably fall out of the top 5. And they're kind of getting screwed, to be honest. So I don't think they're going to be in a position to have that great of a pick.
no, I guess so. I mean, it's kind of similar to last year. Yeah, like basically they're gonna have to like get an underrated guy who just like does like one or two things really well, like basically how Ntilikina and Kevin Knox are again. But I guess that fits once you have some stars around it, and maybe they'll turn out to be like greater than you expected.
The only so imagine if the Knicks actually got Kevin Durant, I would be depressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think me too. Just because I don't really like Kevin Durant, of course. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd be depressed for other reasons, like the Knicks once again getting away with getting this big time superstar. Whenever the Knicks have had so much, is like they deserve to suck for once.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, even though I'm basically a Knicks fan, I get what you're saying. Like the same with like the Lakers now. It's kind of they were bad for a while, and now they got LeBron. That's not really fair at all. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but at least they. The thing with the Lakers is that you're never going to stop the Lakers. And the Lakers did a lot of the stuff of getting stuff in their advantage on their own. The NBA did a lot of stuff for the Knicks, like Patrick Ewing, for example.
Yeah.
You know the story behind that, right?
Yeah, I think you told that in part one, right?
I might have.
Like, yeah, how that rigged stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, if you don't know about it, just look up the Ben Envelope story, people. You'll find it pretty quick. But yeah, I guess with the Lakers, you just kind of take the L.
Yeah. I mean, you gave a pretty solid answer about the Knicks prospect because it's basically like it really depends on where they finish, and like so many players are like equally good, like you said. So
I wouldn't say equally good, but equally selectable.
Yeah.
But personally, if they want to get a point guard, which I think they could really use a point guard, I'd be really interested in them getting their hands on either Ja Morant or Jarrett Culver.
All right, and why?
Well, Ja Morant, if they wanted to go for a crazy ceiling point guard, Ja Morant is like he's like Dennis Smith Jr. if he had significantly better feel.
Okay, I guess that really fits with the Knicks, and it's kind of ironic because I really wanted Dennis Smith Jr. of course.
But he doesn't like leap 48 inches, but like he's still pretty athletic, and I would say he's a bit quicker in the open court, but his defense is still terrible.
No, okay, yeah.
Whereas Jarrett Culver, his thing is he's like 6'5", and he's like already learning how to hit pull up mid ranges and pull up threes, and he's a sophomore. And he's 6'5". He plays good defense. He's still skinny. Like he has a lot of potential too, and he's not like athletic in like any like high level way, but in the things he is athletic in, like he can get off the ground quickly even though he can't rise very high. He can accelerate to his top speed quickly even though he's not very fast. He's very agile. He's the right type of field player that you want to have that can like be that long-term experienced player that can really take advantage of things that you wouldn't expect from a guy who's so young.
Yeah.
Like
right.
I always say, like, the people who are like, don't expect rookies to be good right away. You got to find the rookies who have a good feel for the game, because those rookies always have a lot of advantages, and especially if they're coachable, which almost 99% of the time a rookie with a good feel for the game is very coachable. You can really mold them into whatever you need them to be. And that's why I'm a big fan of Jarrett Culver. Not to mention his jumper is just significantly better, and he can actually defend.
Yeah.
All right, so Dennis Smith Jr., he was back in the Pelicans game, in his first game back. Some of the things I really liked how he was aggressive driving to the basket. I really liked how he played significantly more within himself, except at the end.
Yeah.
At the end, he decided to take the step back three, which I was not a fan of at all, and that really frustrated me. And I don't know why he keeps trying to take those shots, because that's not who he is. Like, I'm not saying Dennis Smith Jr. isn't a clutch player, but he is not a player that makes step back threes. And it's frustrating to see that. But the end of the game was not his fault. That was Rick Carlisle's fault. You can see some other podcasts talking about that. We're not going to go too in depth about that here, because it causes me too much grief. In terms of trading Dennis Smith Jr., I wouldn't even think about it until the draft night. And right now I'm leaning towards not trading him, just based off last night alone and the fact that he's finally seems to be healthy. But I wouldn't even consider pulling the move no matter what the circumstance is, unless there's some kind of locker room problems, which don't seem to exist. Otherwise, don't trade him until draft night. And yeah.
No, I agree with basically everything you said, except that I think he's able to shoot like difficult shots, like.
Oh no,
step
he can hit step back shots, but not step back threes. That's not his shot.
That's true. Yeah, step back mid range jumpers are more his thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, at the end of the game when Luka Doncic is hot and he's been hitting threes all night and you're down two, you should be giving Luka Doncic to win the game or tie the game. Or at the very least, don't set him up at half court where he needs to sprint to the basket LeBron style, where the entire point is for him to get momentum so he can get going downhill. That's not what Luka Doncic is, and he shouldn't be asked to do that.
So that was the ending of Too Much Monte podcast. If you want to check out Max Levy on Twitter, it's at RangersKing669. Also, he's a scout and he writes for the Dallas Prospect and for Lockdraft. He's also the host of the Third Round Picks podcast. So check him out. Thanks for listening.